Yes, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
So we're talking about Luna AI today, which is one of the
Correct.
first speech-to-speech foundational AI models. Let's
Right.
just start with how did you get involved with Luna AI?
How did I get involved? Actually, I've been actually looking to build a toy company for a while now.
Hmm.
It's something that I'm very passionate about, and Sparsh was actually looking to build a toy company as well, and that's how somebody connected us. A common friend got us together. But while building that company, we realized that there was a big gap because we were looking to build a AI toy company, and the existing models were not kind of serving the purpose that we were looking for. Uh,
Right.
so then the thought was that uh, if the existing models don't serve what we need, should we go about building something on our own? And that's how the idea of building a foundational model came about. And uh, yeah, that was the beginning of it.
Oh, so this toy company you're still working on, is
Yeah.
that also with Sparsh?
That is something that he will be involved in as well. Uh,
Okay.
and I mean, I just think that for me, whether it's Luna, whether it's the toy company, I think it's the coming together of two things that I really enjoy, which is storytelling and technology.
Hmm.
And with toys, we obviously toys are such an important part of a child's growing up. But here, I think there's a huge opportunity because we live in a world where toys can not only be something that you play with, but also something that teaches you while you play with them, right?
Right,
There's
right.
an opportunity to create something where uh, uh, it knows you, it understands what you like, what you don't like. It creates stories depending on those likes and dislikes. It teaches you things that you're uh, not very good at, and it enforces things that you're very good at. So I think there's a
Right.
huge opportunity to go beyond just play and make it something that also deeply connects with the child. And yeah, that's an area that's very interesting to me.
Right. So that's the gap you saw in the market and in the toy market, that there was
Yeah.
not enough storytelling.
I mean, not just enough storytelling. I think it was, the gap in the toy market. The way I see it is that there's there's toys that answer your questions, but there aren't enough toys that spark your curiosity and your imagination. And how do you build toys that are not just answering questions on rote, but also really sort of sparking something in there. I
Right,
think for me that's really important.
right. Talking about storytelling and technology, how do you see AI working in the Hindi film industry?
Well, I think it's a bit of a mixed bag. One, of course, is there's a huge fear, of course, is that it'll displace a lot of jobs, and which is a valid fear. But at the same time, there's also a huge opportunity, right? Because I think it has a possibility of democratizing something. Earlier, when you thought of a story, uh, you needed a certain amount of resources to make that kind of story, right? Now, with AI tools, it is possible that somebody can have a great story, but not uh, huge resources, but still go ahead and tell that story. So I think there is a fear that it might replace certain jobs, but there's also a huge opportunity there. And as far as AI goes, there's been a lot of talk about replacing actors and things like that. But I think that that's far off because you can as a tool you can create great images, but how do you bring soul to those images? You need humanity to bring soul to those images, and I think uh, which is why I think it's a bit of both, right? Is that uh, there is an opportunity to build something fantastic, which has not been done before, but I don't think that is going to replace uh, actors and the humanity that actors bring.
Hmm.
And
But
actually,
Hollywood,
that's been our attempt at Luna as well. I mean,
Mhm.
what really got me interested in Luna was the fact that Sparsh was not only trying to build technology, but he was also trying to solve a very kind of storytelling problem, right? I mean, which is that a lot of the AI that we have today is very robotic. You don't feel like you're talking to a human being, right? So how do you sort of create something that has a greater emotional quotient? How do you create something that feels more natural? How do you create something that understands cultural context, that understands the nuances of language? So it wasn't just a tech problem to solve, but it was also a storytelling problem to solve. And for me, that's obviously very interesting. I mean, by all parameters, obviously, the technology is something that is outperforming even the giants on latency. But like I'm saying, that's not the only problem to solve. And that's what I liked about what Sparsh was building.
Right. Why do you think it's important for AI to have emotional intelligence?
Because, I mean, if you're talking about a space where you're going to have AI that also talks to somebody like children, right? Um, I think it's very important that that AI sort of understands the child and connects to that child emotionally as well, right? Uh, at the same time, I think it's very important that that AI also has enough guardrails and security in place, right? Because toys are such an integral part of a child's life. It's a sacred space, and you don't want anything that doesn't have enough security and guardrails in place. So me and Sparsh have been talking about this very often. Is that uh, for us to put this out uh, in the market for even a child to access, it has to be something that has a lot of security. I mean, I'm a father, and I wouldn't put something out till I'm sure that my child can use this, right?
Right. You're involved with Luna AI a lot. Like I heard that you sit with Spursh and you talk about. I think you contribute in how to hire the right people. How does the marketing go? Is it personal for you because of the toy thing, or is this just the way you function?
Well, I think this is just the way I function. I don't want to be a person that just sort of writes a check and disappears. I want to be somebody that is deeply involved. So yeah, with Luna, I think I'm an investor. I'm a strategic advisor. I'm a mentor when I need to be, and I'm also a cheerleader when I need to be. Uh, I think Sparsh and his team, obviously have a lot of technical expertise, but I think there are areas where I bring a lot more experience than they have, which is brand building, which is go to market, which is how do you sort of open doors to partnerships and investors. Uh, I think those are areas that I understand better than they do. And I think what I really like about Sparsh or any of the founders that I've interacted with and backed is that they're usually a combination of two things, which is very disparate from each other, which is humility and arrogance. Good founders are somebody uh, that have the humility to know what they don't know, and accept their mistakes, but at the same time have a lot of arrogance to say, look, I'm going to build this no matter what people think about it, right? So it's a bit of a disparate thing, and I think Sparsh is somebody that has both of them, which is great. uh, but yeah, I mean, it is I do personally like to be involved because it is something that I find exciting as well. I'm not investing in something because uh, in a couple of years it's going to make me X amount of money. I want to make sure that I'm investing in something that I'm feeling very excited about as well.
Right. As someone who gets ideas pitched a lot, what do you see more in the Indian startup scene? Is it more arrogance or is it more humility?
Well, I think unfortunately, what happens sometimes is that uh, arrogance is good when it's backed by talent, but arrogance isn't great when it's not backed by any talent. And sometimes you see a combination of
That's
less talent and
lethal.
no arrogance, and that can be that's not the kind of founder that you want to work with. Uh, the kind of founder you want to work with is somebody that I mean, I meet a lot of people, and I'm not necessarily investing in their companies as well. There's a lot of people that reach out to me, and I'm very happy to just help them because I like what they're doing. And these usually are people that have made mistakes and are not afraid to admit that they've made mistakes. A lot of founders are people that have failed in the past, but then they go on to build great companies, right? And I usually like those kind of people that are like, look, I was responsible for this. I didn't understand it well enough. And I've learned from that. So I'm very happy to help people, not only as somebody that's invested in the company, but just, as somebody that is a is a known face and can reach out to people. Uh, I think that is something that I find very interesting. In fact, a friend of mine had put it really interestingly. He said that when you're building a startup, it's like going to the gym and you're building your body. Eventually, you're going to build that body. But if you have a strategic investor or you have a advisor that's known or has experience, then it's like bodybuilding with steroids. You just do it much faster.
Right.
So yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that founders can, I can be the steroid in the body.
Steroid would not be the right analogy, I think. Steroids can be harmful to you.
No, no, of course they can be harmful to you. What I mean is that,
I know what you mean,
just
but
quicken up the process.
yeah, I know, I know. Kunal, do you think failure is important when you're building a startup? Do you think that makes you a better second time
I
entrepreneur?
mean, I think failure is also overrated because and romanticized because everyone's like, oh my God, failure teaches you so much. It does, but it is very hard to go through as well, right? I mean, uh, for us, when we were building Keto as well, uh, which now is one of Asia's largest crowdfunding platforms. But when we started building it, there was a lot of failure because it was a space that we had entered when nobody was had any kind of belief in it, right?
Right?
Uh, uh, we felt like Indians were generous and Indians like to give. We give constantly to our relatives, to our uh, staff, to community things, to religious activities, but we felt like it wasn't formalized. And if it got formalized, it would be something that's really powerful. But at that point of time, nobody else believed that it was possible, right? So we saw a lot of failure initially to begin with, and it can be very frustrating. So it can teach you a lot, but it's not as romantic as people make it out to be.
It's hard.
It is. It is.
Okay. Kunal, when you're investing, do you invest under a company? Is it like your family money or is it your personal money?
No, it's my personal
Okay.
money. Yeah.
So it's not like a family office thing.
No, it's not a family office. Yeah.
Do you ever want to do that?
Well, I'm very happy doing what I'm doing right now. Actually, uh, uh, look, like I'm saying is, I don't want to be investing in hundreds of companies and make this into another business where I'm like, in 10 years, I want so many multiples of, what I've invested. Obviously, that would be nice. But for me, it's about choosing a few companies that I really, really passionately believe in. And I feel are sort of filling in a gap that exists and working with them deeply, as deeply as they want me to. I mean, I don't want to be somebody that's overbearing and calling them at 2 o'clock in the morning and saying, what's going on? But I'm happy if they call me at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, look, we have a problem to solve. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I don't want to make this into something that's hundreds of companies. I want to make sure that it's a few companies that I passionately kind of believe in.
Right. Kunal, you've seen scale with Keto and with
Yeah.
Luna, there's a lot of innovation.
Yeah.
Which one drives you more? Do you want to see scale or would you rather, go and do something disruptive?
Look, I think disruptive just for the sake of it isn't the right way to go. Uh, I think disruption has to lead to a kind of result as well, right? I mean, uh, sometimes you might not disrupt something, but just improve something, uh, which is what I think has happened at Luna. Is that there's a lot of uh, AI voices, uh, especially text to speech. We are going obviously speech to speech. But our idea is not to disrupt what exists, but our idea is how do we improve what exists, right? Uh, in case of Keto, it was disruptive because up until then, everything was offline. And more than technology, it was about convincing people that you can go online and press a button and save somebody's life. That was a disruptive thought. Uh, so I think disruption, more than disruption, it's about impact, right? What kind of impact can you make? And disruption for the sake of disruption is, I think, pointless.
Okay. Well, you've such an interesting career graph. I know that you come from a business family. I read that you've worked in the stock market for a couple of years before you
Sure.
became an actor. But then you were a full-time actor. You were in a lot of mainstream movies.
Yeah.
Then from there, you've gone on to become an investor. how does your mind work? Like what, I mean, I'm sure being an actor requires, a lot of empathy, a lot of,
Yeah.
it's very emotional thing to do. And being an investor is more, you're supposed to be, logical, strategic. So how does that mindset shift work?
Well, firstly, I think there's both of them are things that I find very interesting, right? One is storytelling. As somebody in the movies, you have the possibility of affecting somebody emotionally. You have the possibility of changing how somebody thinks, and you have a possibility of influencing culture, which is very powerful, right? For instance, when we did Rang De Basanti, we had that candle march in the film, and eventually that became something that became, every time there was something that people wanted to protest about, there was a candle march that was held at India Gate. So suddenly you had something that was in a movie translating into real life, which is very powerful. Uh, but with technology, I think what is even more powerful is that it has the possibility of pushing boundaries, right? And possibility of really changing the way we experience the world. And that is something that's really powerful, right? So I love both. I love storytelling and I love technology. And I think there's a lot more common between the two than people think. I mean, people think that entrepreneurship in movies is completely different. Of course, it is. But I think there's a lot of commonality as well, right? For instance, storytelling. Movies obviously are dependent on storytelling. Though sometimes you watch a movie and you feel like the filmmakers forgotten about storytelling. But so is entrepreneurship, right? Because there's so much noise nowadays. And if you really want to sort of cut through the clutter, you have to be able to tell your story really effectively. Secondly, is like we've been talking about audience feedback, right? With Keto, we took that feedback and we said, okay, how can we get better? With movies, you might do a film and you might think it's amazing, and on Friday it releases, and people are like, "This is absolute rubbish." On Saturday,
Yeah.
you have to accept the fact that people have not liked it and move on and learn from that. And the third is that I think both of them are very lonely professions. They seem very glamorous and romanticized from the outside, but you need a lot of grit, and you have to constantly build alone, uh, which can be very, very taxing and painful, but also very rewarding. So I think there's a lot of common ground between the two, though they seem very, very disparate.
Right. Kunal, my last question to you is, how do you define success now? Because you've done so much in life and you've gone through, from one thing to the other, and
Yeah,
you've seen fair amount of success in everything that you've done. What does it mean to you now?
I think the most important thing would be impact, honestly. Uh, you know, uh, I think for me, there's two things. One is that are you kind of doing the things that you want to do? Uh, that could mean that uh, you want to start a shack on the beach, but it's something that you really want to do, or you want to build the biggest company in the world, right? Uh, I think that is success, is that you're doing and building the kind of life that you want. And the second is while doing that, are you having the right kind of impact? Whether it's through your movies or whether it's through the entrepreneurship work that you do or the company that you're building. I mean, for me, with the movies, for the longest time, I haven't. There's a particular kind of movie that I want to do, and there are kind of characters that I want to play. And those are characters that haven't been offered to me, or movies that are not being offered to me. So a couple of years back, I started a writer's room to write those kind of scripts, right? So the idea is to create the kind of work that I want to do. And uh, the only reason behind that is that's the kind of thing that will make me really happy. That's the kind of life that I want to build, and that's the kind of career I want to build. And hopefully, while doing that, there'll be enough impact.
And thank you so much for talking to us, Kunal.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Iman.